Sa unti-unting pagbubukas ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas sa gitna ng nararanasang pandemya, inaasahan ng Department of Finance na makababalik na sa pre-COVID-19 levels o noong panahong wala pang global pandemic ang gross domestic product ng bansa. Sa inilabas na economic bulletin ng kagawaran noong Martes, sinabi nito na tinatayang lalago pa ang ekonomiya ng bansa ng 7.4% sa 2022 kung hindi na magkakaroon ng mga lockdown sa bansa. Sa kabila nito, mananatili naman anilang hamon sa mga economic manager ng pamahalaan ang unemployment rate at kahirapan na mananatili anilang mataas sa 2022. Ngunit ayon sa DOF, sa pamamagitan ng balanseng pagtugon sa COVID-19 situation at unti-unting pagbubukas ng ekonomiya ay maaabot ang target na GDP growth ng pamahalaan. Ito rin ang naging pahayag ng National Economic and Development Authority matapos na maitala ang 11.8% na Gross Domestic Product o GDP sa second quarter ng 2021. Sa gitna ito ng nararanasang pandemya. Pinakamataas itong naitala mula noong fourth quarter ng 1988 o mahigit 30 taon na ang nakakaraan.
The robust performance is driven by more than just base effects. It is the result of a better balance between addressing COVID-19 and the need to restore jobs and incomes of the people.
Samantala, ayon kay National Statistician Dennis Mapa, kinakailangang 8.2% ang maging paglago ng ekonomiya sa second half ng 2021 upang maabot ang 6% na GDP growth para sa taong ito. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. Diyos ang aming sandigan, serbisyo publiko ang aming pinahahalagahan.
This meeting is being
So have you
recorded.
guys already watched the news? What do you think? Do you have any opinions or do you agree with the forecast?
I kind of agree.
Also, not really, since I don't really remember much about that topic.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Well, based on our economy's performance right now, I can't believe it. But what can I say?
Honestly, it's still surprising that our country's economy is still growing despite having a pandemic.
It's actually not impossible that our income is still increasing, since there are still workers who still contribute and earn.
Yes, but come to think of it, because of the current situation and with the pandemic going on, every country has suffered with the crisis. Our economy might grow, but I don't think it will come to as much as that number. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm still don't quite understand how it works, to be honest.
Wait, can someone please refresh my memory of what we are talking about?
So based on what I remember, gross domestic product measures the country's economic health by comparing it against the past amounts. It is the monetary value of all finished goods and services made within a country during a specific period.
Oh, so gross national product is the one I remember, wherein only the finished goods and the final goods are considered as factoring intermediate goods used for manufacturing regardless of the location, whether it may be within the nation or outside. Yeah, and another thing, GDP allows policymakers, economists, and businesses to analyze the impact of such variables like monetary and fiscal policy, economic shocks, as well as the overall economy itself.
And as well as better used to help explain how economic growth and production have impacted our stocks and investments in the past.
Yeah, while GNP measures how much of that value stays in the country since it produces crucial information on manufacturing, employment, production outputs of the major companies and other economic variables.
Yeah, moreover, economists rely on the GNP data to solve national problems such as inflation and poverty.
So this is where we can relate the production possibilities curve, which is a model used to show the trade-offs associated with allocating resources between the production of two goods. Wow, she's finally remembering now, guys. Okay, so PPC, it is used to illustrate the concept of scarcity, opportunity cost, efficiency, inefficiency, economic growth, and contractions.
And the purpose of PPC is to show the different possible combinations of two goods that can be produced within the given available resource. It as well displays the right proportional mix of goods to be produced.
For instance, if you want to produce a particular commodity, then we have to reduce the production of another commodity for economic growth.
Wait, we keep mentioning everything we know. Were you guys really able to absorb those that we have discussed so far?
By definition, yes, but I wouldn't be able to apply or clearly explain it.
Perfect. While you guys were discussing, I actually found a graph and I think we could understand it more through it.
Ooh.
So, according to this graph, the Philippine economy had its worst year of economic activity since the World War II ended in the year 2020. It shrunk by 9.5% throughout the course of the year.
In the same time frame, the contractions in the second and third quarters of 2020 were the first and second worst quarterly performances. In addition, the Philippines had its first economic downturn in decades.
Interesting. Is there like another example you could show us?
I actually do.
Wow, okay, so
Mm.
this is also noteworthy. It's a graph that shows that the Philippines went from being a rising economic tiger among major ASEAN nations in terms of GDP growth in 2019, ahead of Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore, to being the lowest in the group.
Unlike Thailand, Vietnam, and Singapore, who have better COVID-19 pandemic responses, we could see that Vietnam's economy grew by 4.5% in the fourth quarter of 2020.
Oh, so when GDP goes up, businesses tend to employ and pay workers with much higher salaries and wages. This then leads to more expenditures from the consumers. Also, firms tend to invest more as they gain confidence in the economic performance of the country.
But on the other hand, if the GDP goes lower, fear of recession may arise since people have lesser resources to spend for workers, resulting in unemployment and business decline. The GDP report is also very important in analyzing which sectors are booming and which are not.
On that note, we should still remember that GNP and GDP still vary somehow. GNP is a good summary measure of national output. However, it is not an indicator of social welfare. It can only reflect the amount of money that society exchanges for commodities.
Exactly. And if the income earned by domestic firms in overseas countries exceeds the income earned by foreign firms within the country, then GNP is higher than GDP. In relation to the production possibilities curve, outward or inward shifts of the model can be driven by the changes in the total amount of available production factors, or by advancement in technology. Okay, so for example, during times of high unemployment and limited money supply, the frontier will retreat inwards and the total amount of goods that can be produced will decrease.
This indicates the economy is shrinking due to a failure in its allocation of resources and optimal production capability. On the other hand, when the PPC shifts, it implies growth in an economy.
Okay, so wait, going back to the news, you were saying that the economy of the Philippines could possibly still improve along the course of time, but just maybe not by the targeted record of 6.6% that they initially predicted. Am I right?
I think so.
Okay, so I would have to agree with Mika, especially now that I have a better understanding of GDP. It does make me curious how they are expecting an increase in the GDP of our country despite it being in a pandemic. Because based on my observation, a lot of businesses have shut down, which makes me assume that there is a rise in the unemployment rate of the country.
And the reason behind that is a lot of businesses closed, but a lot of people saw this as an opportunity to start their own. This is a factor why I feel our country's economic standing is close to getting back during the pre-pandemic times.
I agree, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to achieve the goal. As we can see, our country was able to survive and still surpass the crisis. And as Christina said, Filipinos continue to be resilient. With proper management by the government and compliance by the citizens, we could make the most out of all the resources that we have and possibly still attain the mentioned percentage in the video.
In addition of that, Governor Benjamin Jokno even pointed out that yes, inflation and unemployment is difficult to eradicate. However, with this generation, we could expect some changes that could probably provide hope to the nation and to our economic status. But let's not focus on unemployment, only since there are other topics that we should approach as well, like investment of infrastructure and human capital.
Well, okay, and I think we imported everything that we wanted to share. Do you guys want to end our call already, or do you have things to do today?
Yeah, but it's just nice to see where curiosity has led us. We were able to recall past topics and relate it to our own understanding and knowledge.
That's right. Let's just see how things progress this year.
We'll see whether or not the USEC it Dennis Mapa's statement will be fulfilled.
Correct. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
The recording has stopped.